Welcome back, everybody. Now it's time for the 1988 Pikes Peak Marathon. It's billed as the third oldest marathon in the U.S., but for beauty and pure difficulty, it may be the best.
This is certainly the most challenging course in the world, bar none. It's a fantastic course. Where else in the world can you go and see wildlife on a marathon course?
It's a great course. We had 6 crews, as we mentioned, up on top, getting all kinds of beautiful shots. It was a different type of morning than it was on Saturday. A little more cloudy, a lot of wind up on top. The wind chill was down about -3, gusts up to 50 miles per hour. And you can tell it's not a pleasant place to be on top of Pikes Peak. Here you see the runners starting to stretch out. What's the strategy here for stretching, Rick?
I think all you really need to do is make sure your muscles are loose. You don't have to run too much before this type of race. You want to just make sure you're loose before you start for the first mile.
And once again, the runners love this race.
You know, life doesn't need to stop at 65 with a rocking chair.
I think my life stopped at age 18.
You got a lot of time to start. I didn't start till I was 60.
Okay, what makes an individual all the way from Australia want to run up Pikes Peak?
Probably pure masochism and sadism of the highest order. That's about all.
Are you looking forward to it?
I'm looking forward to finishing, yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun finishing.
It's my first time, so I'm just hoping to get down.
I just kind of got used to doing it the last 10 years, so here we go again.
What makes someone want to run up and down a mountain that's 14,000 feet high?
I'd say something cliche like because it's there, but you feel very different after you've done it, okay? It makes a difference in your life.
And speaking of a difference, there was for the marathon, 615 athletes on hand as opposed to 1,500 on Saturday. It's a little more elbow room, Rick.
Yes, that's right, but these athletes are very, very high right now in the adrenaline, so they almost have to hold themselves back for the first mile.
But what's the difference in this race? Obviously, in the ascent, you're going up. In the marathon, you're going up and back. What's the strategy as far as taking off quickly?
Well, what you want to do is really relax for the first couple of miles of this race. Make sure you get warmed up properly before you start going up the hill.
Now, Matt Carpenter told us right there in second place right now, he really wanted to take off quickly. He wanted to go for the record. He starts out very quickly. This next shot, you'll see the fans on hand, but then he overtakes the Jackrabbit, and he sets the pace for the rest of the race.
Well, Matt knew exactly what he needed to do to get to the top of that peak, and nothing was going to bother him. He takes a look over his shoulder here to check this guy out. He's not concerned with him. He just wants to get to that bar trail to start running.
Now, as the lead runner, does it concern you as a lead runner to start off too quickly, the fact that you may not have enough gas to come back down?
Well, one of the big mysteries in the race is you don't know where second and third place are once you make the commitment early in the race. So you're always concerned about where they're going to be.
And Matt started out very quickly, as we've been saying. He has about a 1 to 2 minute lead coming up here on the pack, even over second place. So it's amazing he has the stamina to do this. He's trained a long time. He's trained for the past year. It was his goal, he said, to do this. As you see the pack runners there really slowly walking up the incline out of Manitou, you see Matt here at a full jog.
That's right. Matt has had some very good success this summer. He's won a couple of major mountain races in this region, so he knows exactly what he needs to do. There he goes, looking very smooth at this point.
We're at the W's with the switchbacks, and he's got a 1 to 2 minute lead here. He's really starting out very strong. His arms look good. He isn't looking back. He isn't concerned who's in second. All he's concerned about is Matt Carpenter. And coming up, you're going to see the second place man coming up here pretty quickly, Stanley Fox. Stanley has a unique style, but he's always a competitor.
Well, he's a veteran in this course, and he knows what he needs to do as well. These people have been up here. They've trained in the course before, followed by Tom Sobel there, who, by the way, is a pack burro racer, what he does in his spare time.
Well, Stanley's a lot of fun for our crews. He's always talking to us, always looking back, so it's fun to watch him race. And it's a good race right here, but he's got, Matt has an extremely large lead. It's got to be a little bit frustrating for Stanley.
Yeah, I think so, but I think he also is hoping that Stanley may have gone out a little bit too hard. Matt may have gone a little bit too hard, and hopefully he can catch him.
There's the leader for the women, Linda Quinlisk. She's a veteran of the Pikes Peak Marathon, so she knows exactly what she has to do to win this race.
Well, she's been on this course a few times, and she does know her strategy. She knows what she needs to do, and she'll take it out pretty easy and conserve her energy.
A lot of the runners were walking up the incline from Manitou. That's actually a smart move because you've got to come all the way back down. But it also costs you some time. The lead runners were running, so they're really the ones that are in shape. Here's the Pikes Peak Summit, 6 miles to go. It's a long ways to the top. Now we'll bring the runners out of tree line and go on to the cirque. This is where the air starts to get a little bit thinner and the blood starts pumping a lot more. It's a tough place to run because you're up there with the clouds, you're up there with the sunshine and the blue skies. Once again, our crews did a nice job showing you exactly how difficult this is. It looks like an ant out there. It's not an ant. It's Matt Carpenter, who's taken along a big lead now. There's nobody that's going to catch him up to the top.
No, he's looking so good at this point. As I said before, he is very well prepared. You can tell his pace has slowed down considerably, but look at his face, completely relaxed.
No muscle tension there. He looks like he's ready to go, talking to our crews a little bit. He must have at least a 10-15 minute lead over Stanley Fox, who's in second here, and Stanley looks like he's hurting a little bit.
Well, Stanley is hurting. I think everybody hurts at this point, but you can see he's still running, and he's not walking, so that means he's got a lot of energy left.
Nice job there by our camera crew showing the distance between second and third and also in first. It's a big race up here. You've got an awful lot of things going against you. There's number one again. You've got a slippery field on a path. You also got low oxygen level. It's got to be tough.
There are a lot of things going, and one of the things is that you lose concentration toward the top. There's just not enough oxygen. You start losing contact with what you're doing, and a lot of times you just completely lose it. So these guys are very tough.
There's Stanley. Is it frustrating? He can see Matt Carpenter way up ahead of him, at least a 20-minute lead right now. Is that frustrating for him?
It can be very frustrating. One of the things he knows, though, he's got another half the race to go, so there's always the possibility that the lead runner could choke up.
There's third place right now, Sheldon Larson. Sheldon looks like he's in pretty good shape. He won it last year, but right now he's in third. He's got an awful lot of time to make up and distance to make up if he hopes to capture the 1988 marathon.
Well, he's very strong, and he's a veteran in this course, and he also knows that the first two guys could choke up a little bit. 16 golden stairs. You're getting very close to the top. You can see the top, but you're not quite there yet. It's got to be a little bit of a painful experience to do that, to see the sign and know that you're very close, but not quite to the top yet. Well, anybody who's hiked some of the peaks around here will know that you see that false peak, and you think, oh, geez, I'm almost there, but they see that peak and they miss it, so it's tough.
Now, Stanley's gained a little bit of ground there, and so has Sheldon, but it's tough because you're going up in the 16 golden stairs. The path has a lot of rocks in it. It's a lot more difficult. You've got to get your knees a lot higher, so it's very difficult. But here's the interesting point. There's the third place man, and there's the first place man. They're passing each other, so it's got to be very difficult for him.
Yes, it is, and you're really just test your race walking technique going uphill here.
Now, when you're up this high, the altitude, as we mentioned, is very difficult. It's something you've got to get used to, and Kurt Sandoval takes a look at that right now.
This is Dan Garcia, a former Adams State runner who finished 15th in the ascent this year. One reason Dan is such an elite distance runner is because he trains at altitude. That's why those who don't run at heights may find themselves feeling very low during the Pikes Peak Marathon.
Because of the change in altitude, the oxygen content of the blood tends to drop to significantly lower levels, and that markedly affects just the metabolism of the muscle and causes a fatigue process to occur that normally wouldn't if you were at a level altitude.
So the higher the runner goes, the thinner the air. When these guys get near the top, they don't have much of a choice. Their bodies literally tell them to hold back.
To run well up something like this, your legs have to be in shape. My legs couldn't run fast enough to get my heart rate up even. So I was aerobically fit, but that doesn't do you any good when you're going up a hill. So it says that I needed to train more on mountains really to do well here.
Knowing that as they're running and getting nearer the top, that they perhaps have to slow down their pace, that they can't continue going at the same pace because they are going up in altitude.
This is truly one of the toughest parts of this race. Here the runners are, they can hear the crowds at the finish line. They're pushing, striving, yet the air is so thin, that's when they need to be aware of altitude sickness.
Symptoms are nausea, headache. You can in fact pass out, and you can get a fluid accumulation in the lungs. And collectively, those things are known as high altitude sickness.
That's why the best train at altitude. For the Pikes Peak Marathon, I'm Kurt Sandoval, Sports 13.
Now, we've taken the lead runners over the top of Pikes Peak. They're on their way back down. And at the top of Pikes Peak, there was an interesting change. Stanley Fox was number 2. He stayed up there to get some water. That allowed Sheldon Larson to come on and regain the number 2 spot.
I think psychologically Sheldon needed to take the lead right here, but actually, just to take a little extra water, I understand he had something to eat up there, really is not going to hurt you. Later on in the race, that extra fluid can really help.
I guarantee you if I was at the top, I'd be eating more than a little bit. Anyway, what's the strategy running downhill? Can you make up time coming downhill without hurting your body?
If you're a very good downhill runner, you can make up a lot of time, but you've got to be well prepared for that type of running.
There's Stanley after that stop. He looks a little more refreshed, a little more relaxed, and as usual, he's always stopping and giving a wink to the camera as he runs by.
That's right, and you can't get too excited at this point in the race. You have to really pace yourself, even going downhill.
Here's a good look up at the top. You see the runners struggling to get up there. In a second, you're going to see the women's winner, or make that leader right now, Linda Quislick. She's did a good job coming up at the slow pace at the top. She stopped to get a little bit of refreshment.
That's right, and again, that's a smart idea in this length of race.
Okay, you see Linda go up there. She stops for just 1 second. The altitude, as Kurt mentioned in his package, has to be affecting her. She gets a drink of water, stops for maybe a minute, drinks it, and she's on her way back down.
She looks real good at this point. You can tell she's aware of her surroundings. She's very gingerly stepping through the rocks there.
And here's a time lapse. Look at the distance. You're talking about maybe a 45-minute lead for the male winner, Matt Carpenter, who's already back down, coming back down it toward Bar with the water station there. He is flying.
Yes, he is, and he's very good control right here. He's not flailing his legs. He's looking very strong.
Back up to the top now for the women. That was Liz Britton in second and Gail Scott. Now, interesting here, too, Gail makes her way back down. Liz stops up here for a long time, and Gail comes right back down, so she takes the second place. So you have second and third, both for the men and the women, changing hands.
Yes, Liz did take some time at the top. She ended up 11th place, so she probably wasn't as well prepared as she should have been for this race.
Now, some people may wonder what's along her shoulders. That's a space blanket to keep her warm. You can tell here that Linda has a good lead on her now, and she's starting to pump it up going downhill.
Linda still looks very good, under very good control there.
There's a nice lead for Sheldon Larson in second place. You can tell the time difference between the ladies and the men now because Sheldon's going down toward Bar Camp, and here's Stanley Fox a good 20 seconds behind Sheldon right now.
Well, you can see how heavily muscled his legs are. Sheldon has a longer stride. He can really run very well downhill.
And more water stops, and of course this is Matt again. Matt's coming way down. He's into the W's now, so he's got a very comfortable lead, but he isn't going to slow down because he wants that championship.
He can taste it right now. He knows he's got a commanding lead. There's not going to be any problem. All he needs to do is finish the race at this point.
That's got to be a little bit frustrating, especially for some of the runners who are still going back up the mountain. And a lot of those runners, surprisingly, are above the age of 50, and they are very special runners indeed. The Masters division is growing by leaps and bounds in the KRDO Triple Crown of running. It's not uncommon to see 50, 60, even 70-year-olds challenging their bodies and the myth that senior status means slowing down. For 72-year-old Ed Sauer from Yuma, Arizona, and 78-year-old Bess James from San Jacinto, California, their senior years mean taking on Pikes Peak.
It's a wonderful thing, wonderful experience. It's from the health standpoint, from the physical standpoint, the mental standpoint. It just, it's part of my life now. It's just a great experience, being up there in that mountain every day. It's a peace that you don't find anyplace else in life.
Well, I tell you, it makes you feel so good. If you go out, say, for about a 6-mile run in the morning, you come back, you just feel like you can lick the world.
But does such strenuous running, as in climbing a 14,000-foot mountain, scare these senior citizens?
I've always said that every hour I spend running, I'll live that much longer. I don't care if I live any longer than that, but I don't lose anything by running.
I like challenges. I don't know what they are, and I don't know why I like them, but if something different comes along, I want to do it.
Now, Bess has only been running for 9 years, just about the same time span as Ed. For each, their lives have been enriched by picking up the sport, a new hobby which amazes friends and family alike.
People say, gee, I wish I could do that. And I says, can you walk? I said, get out there and walk. Just keep on moving. That's a most important thing. And as far as sitting down, I get up at about 5:30 in the morning. I never get to bed till 10 o'clock, and I never sit down. I'm gone all the time.
Well, there's an awful lot of time for most of the runners who are still headed up Pikes Peak. But the finish line is in sight for Matt Carpenter. We'll have that for you right after this.